Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm gonna show you how to find the sample size for proportion, z-test and t-test using StatCrunch. So suppose we need a sample size for proportion within 5% margin of error. So you go to stat and you go to proportion stat and depend the question, and doesn't matter which one sample or two sample, the same way. So I'm just gonna show you today one sample, and two sample it's very similar to one sample. So you go to one sample and you go all the way down to with sample size. So here you go. So the confidence level, it's dependent on the question. So here by default in StatCrunch it's 0.95. And target proportion, so if the question does not provide you with target proportion, assume it's 0.5. Otherwise, enter the target proportion or p-hat given in the question. Here another thing you have to pay attention to it. StatCrunch does not recognize the margin of error, but it has something else called the width, and the width is twice as the margin of error. So the width is twice as the margin of error. So our margin of error here, we said it's 5%. So the width will be 2 times that, so that's 10%, and you change it to decimal, so that's 0.1, and you hit compute. So here you go, that's how much, that's my sample size needed for this confidence interval, 0.95, and within 5% margin of error. So same thing if you want to find the sample size for z-stat. So I'm gonna close this. And you're gonna go to same way, z-stat, one sample with sample size. So again, the standard deviation will be given to you in the question. The confidence level will be given as well, and the margin of error will be given. So again, the width in StatCrunch is twice as the margin of error. So we're gonna do 5%, that's times 2, that's 10%, and 0.1, and hit compute, and the sample size is 1537. And you can do it the other way. If the question provides you with the sample size and asking for the margin of error, you can do it the same way. So you enter here 15, for example 1537, and leave this box for the width empty, and hit compute. So here you go. So the width it's almost 0.1, and you divide it by 2, that's 0.05, which is 5%. So you're either gonna answer the question what's the sample size within a given margin of error, or you can the question can provide you with the sample size and asking for the margin of error. But just remember, the margin of error is halfway the width, or the width is twice as the margin of error. So we close this, and we can I can show you how to do a t-stat, same way. You go to t-stat, one sample, width, sample size, and enter the standard deviation. Again, that will be provided to you. The confidence level, that will be in the question as well. The width, the question will provide you with the margin of error, and our example it's 5%, so the width is twice as the margin of error, so that's 10%, that's 0.1, and we hit compute. Here you go. So that's 1540. That's our sample size for t-test. And remember, it was 1537 for z-test. So you have to be careful, depend on the question, which test you're gonna use. Is t-test or z-test? And that's depend on the population standard deviation. So if the population standard deviation are given, you're gonna go with z-test. And if the population standard deviation is unknown, and we are given the sample standard deviation instead, we're gonna go with the t-test. So it's a small difference here in the sample size in 1540 and 1537, but you have to be careful and see which kind of test you gotta use to answer your question. So thank you and see you next time.